The concept of Introduction to Greek Art and the Renaissance serves as a foundational overview of how the artistic achievements of ancient Greece influenced the cultural rebirth in Europe during the Renaissance. Greek art, characterized by its emphasis on naturalism, proportion, and ideal beauty, laid the groundwork for the Renaissance's own artistic developments, which sought to revive these classical ideals after the Middle Ages, a period marked by less focus on humanism and natural representation. The importance of this concept lies in the transformative role Greek art played in shaping Renaissance aesthetics and ideologies. Greek art's focus on human anatomy, perspective, and architectural elegance became benchmarks for Renaissance artists who sought to marry technical skill with philosophical inquiry, ultimately sparking a broader cultural awakening in Europe. This revitalization of classical antiquity fueled advancements in multiple disciplines, including painting, sculpture, and architecture. One notable example of Greek influence on the Renaissance is the iconic School of Athens by Raphael, which visually represents Greek philosophers in a grand architectural setting reminiscent of classical Greece. The use of perspective and anatomical accuracy in this fresco underscores the artist's mastery of classical techniques. Another example is Michelangelo's David, a sculpture deeply inspired by Greek ideals of human beauty and heroic form. The work highlights the Renaissance's emphasis on individualism and the human experience, drawing directly from Greek traditions of sculpture. Scholars and critics often praise this synergy for resurrecting a focus on human potential and intellectual inquiry. The philosopher Ernst Gombrich argued that the Renaissance was not a mere revival, but a reinterpretation of Greek ideals, allowing for creativity to flourish alongside technical precision. However, there are challenges and controversies surrounding the adoption of Greek art during the Renaissance. Some historians question whether this focus on antiquity overshadowed other contemporary and non-Western influences. Furthermore, the idealization of Greek forms sometimes led to exclusionary practices that marginalized those who did not fit classical ideals. Ultimately, the introduction to Greek art's influence on the Renaissance is a crucial component that connects to broader themes of cultural exchange, humanism, and artistic advancement. By understanding how Greek art inspired Renaissance artists, we gain insight into a pivotal era that forever changed the trajectory of Western art and thought, setting the stage for future generations to continue exploring and expanding artistic boundaries. The revival of classical ideals in the Renaissance refers to the resurgence of ancient Greek philosophical, artistic, and cultural values during the Renaissance, a period spanning roughly from the 14th to the 17th century. This revival was characterized by a renewed interest in and appreciation for the art, literature, and humanism of classical antiquity. Central to this revival were the principles of symmetry, proportion, and harmony, which artists and thinkers sought to emulate in their work, mirroring the Greek emphasis on balance and ideal beauty. The significance of this revival lies in its profound impact on Renaissance art and thought. Greek ideals provided a framework for exploring humanism, emphasizing the potential and dignity of the individual. This human-centric approach led to groundbreaking developments in various fields, from visual arts and architecture to science and philosophy. In essence, the revival of classical ideals fostered an environment where creativity and intellectual curiosity could flourish. Two notable examples of this influence are found in the works of Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. Leonardo's Vitruvian Man exemplifies the Greek pursuit of ideal human proportions, reflecting the blend of art, science, and philosophy that defined the Renaissance. Similarly, Michelangelo's sculptures, such as David, showcase the Greek admiration for the human form and the emphasis on capturing realistic anatomy and emotion. Supporters of this revival argue that it was crucial for ushering in a new era of thinking that broke away from the perceived rigidity of the Middle Ages. By drawing upon Greek sources, Renaissance thinkers were able to establish a fresh perspective that prioritized empirical observation and individual expression. However, this revival was not without its controversies. Some critics contend that the focus on classical ideals may have overlooked other important cultural traditions or led to an idealization that could disregard the complexities of human nature. Furthermore, the emphasis on Greco-Roman art and thought might have overshadowed contributions from other periods and regions, leading to a Eurocentric view of history. The revival's influence extended beyond art and architecture, deeply impacting other aspects of the Renaissance such as literature and science. By elevating humanism and individualism, it paved the way for the Enlightenment and the modern age. The rediscovery and reinterpretation of Greek ideals provided a catalyst for innovation in numerous realms, underscoring the intertwined nature of art, culture, and intellectual progress throughout history. The heading, Key Characteristics of Greek Art Embraced by Renaissance Artists, focuses on the specific elements of Greek art that were prominently adopted during the Renaissance period. Greek art, renowned for its emphasis on proportion, balance, and idealized beauty, left a profound impact on Renaissance artists who revered these traits as benchmarks of artistic excellence. During the Renaissance, a period marked by a revival of classical learning and values, artists consciously sought to recapture the grandeur and sophistication of ancient Greco-Roman culture. This admiration is clearly seen in their embrace of techniques such as realism and anatomical precision, the use of perspective, and an emphasis on depicting human figures in idealized forms. The significance of this embrace lies in the transformative influence it had on Renaissance art, effectively reshaping its direction and allowing for a more profound exploration of humanism. Renaissance artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were notably inspired by Greek sculptures and applied these classical qualities to breathe life into their work. Michelangelo's David, for instance, reflects the Greek tradition of depicting the human body in its ideal form, showcasing proportionate anatomy combined with a sense of vigor and dynamism. Similarly, Raphael's School of Athens is a testament to the application of classical principles, as it captures the spirit of ancient Greece through its use of perspective, balanced composition, and idealized figures, bringing to life the sophistication of Platonic thought. Proponents of Greek influence argue that this integration of classical elements provided a solid foundation for artistic innovation, enabling artists to explore new realms of creativity while rooting their work in established ideals. However, some critics suggest that this influence could have limited diversity in artistic expression, as the preference for classical ideals might have overshadowed other cultural perspectives or artistic styles of the time. Furthermore, there's debate over whether the Renaissance truly embraced the complexity of Greek art or selectively romanticized certain aspects, potentially oversimplifying its richness. In the broader context, the Renaissance adoption of Greek artistic principles laid the groundwork for the evolution of Western art. It fostered a renewed focus on the potential of the human spirit and intellect, which permeated other spheres like literature, science, and philosophy. By reconnecting with classical traditions, Renaissance artists not only celebrated the cultural greatness of ancient Greece but also set a precedent for future generations to draw inspiration from the past while continuing to innovate and adapt. The heading, Notable Works and Artists Influenced by Greek Art, refers to the significant impact that ancient Greek aesthetics, techniques, and motifs had on Renaissance art. During the Renaissance, a cultural rebirth occurred in Europe, particularly in Italy, characterized by a renewed interest in the culture and accomplishments of classical antiquity. Greek and Roman civilizations. Greek art, known for its emphasis on proportion, balance, and idealized beauty, served as a critical reference for many Renaissance artists. This point is essential to understanding the Renaissance because it highlights the cultural transmission and transformation that took place during this period. The Renaissance artists sought to revive the classical ideals and adjust them to fit their contemporary context, creating a fusion that propelled art into a new era of sophistication and humanism. By examining notable works and artists influenced by Greek art, we gain insight into not only the mechanics of artistic inspiration, but also the broader cultural currents that shaped the Renaissance. A prime example is Michelangelo's David, which echoes the ideals of Greek sculpture in its emphasis on human anatomy and idealized form. Another significant work is Botticelli's The Birth of Venus, which draws heavily on Greek mythology and aesthetics, illustrating the gods in naturalistic yet divine beauty. These works show how Greek art provided a framework for expressing human emotion, spirituality, and an understanding of the physical world through a harmonious blend of form and function. Supporters of this idea argue that Greek art provided the foundation for the Renaissance's revolutionary advancements, offering not only technical prowess but also philosophical depth. The admiration for Greek art prompted Renaissance artists to strive for perfection, symmetry, and realism, fostering advancements in techniques such as perspective, anatomy, and chiaroscuro. However, there are challenges to this interpretation. Some critics argue that the Renaissance perhaps over-romanticized Greek art, ignoring elements of medieval and early Christian art that played a role in its development. Others point out that while Greek art influenced the Renaissance, it is not the sole influence, as local traditions and other cultures' art also contributed to this period's dynamism. Ultimately, the influence of Greek art connects deeply with the Renaissance's core principles: a return to classical wisdom, the elevation of human experience, and the pursuit of beauty and perfection. Without the foundational influence of Greek art, the Renaissance might have unfolded differently, indicating that this point is not only central to the understanding of Renaissance art, but provides a gateway to appreciating how cultural interactions shape historical progress.